What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Cloud Slayer channel. Hope you guys are doing well. Today is January 3rd, 2024. I already was signing some documents and frickin' 23, man. 23 on everything, right? Forget about it. And, that's the crappy part about having to sign things. You forget what year it is, stuff like that. So, nothing major, I guess, but, life goes on. You'll get used to it, right? I was working out a little bit here. Not too hard. I just, had an elevation mask. It helps. It kind of simulates being at a higher elevation, I guess, and makes it a little more difficult for you to breathe and stuff like that. It helps force you to breathe in harder through your nose, and then it makes everything a little bit more difficult to do when you're trying to perform it. Basic stretching, light jogging, or even doing a little bit of punching something. You might be able to go 5 minutes punching a bag or something. Let's say that, maybe not, but you put that thing on and you might go 30 seconds because you're fighting for air. You know what I mean? It's an awesome device. It's cool. If you're working out and you want more of a challenge to some of these things to help maybe improve some of your breathing and stuff like that. There's a lot of studies out there for this elevation type mask that it helps. Increase red blood count cells, or red blood counts and stuff like that, and helps with the recovery process and various things like that. So maybe it wouldn't be a bad thing to look into to try to incorporate into daily workout stuff. Maybe just an idea. They're not as expensive as they used to be. You can probably find some for relatively cheap here. It kind of looks like that. You just put it on the face. They have different difficulties on it, and with that you can adjust the settings on there, make it more difficult for yourself, lower the difficulty and how it is to suck in the air. You know what I mean? So it's just it has those three things on there, three little nozzles. I don't know what you would call them, but there might be a different amount of slits to allow air to come in through, from you trying to suck in. It's easy to blow it out, but the crappy thing about them is you should wash them every time, so you don't get some kind of infection or something like that. You never know what you're carrying on your face. You can get staph and stuff like that. So it's always good to sanitize anyways. Regardless of if it's a mask or anything else in regards to working out. So if you work out barefoot, you know what I mean? You always got to wash your feet. You always got to wash stuff that you have at the house if you work out at home, especially if you work out at home. And even more so if you're out in public and you're barefoot, you know what I mean? Anything can happen, especially when high traffic areas. Everybody carries some type of, not diseases, but bacterias inside their nails at all times. Nails, anywhere on your body, right? You're exposed to more things than you know. Just because you don't see them doesn't mean that they don't exist, right? And that's one big thing schools taught people, even at a basic level of middle school, high school, and stuff like that. During my time, they even started teaching you about bacteria when we were in elementary. So thank God for education, right? How far it's come and how far it's going and how far it's going to continue to grow. Just like everything else in life, right? There's a higher standard that they have to achieve, but they are saying America's falling behind in that category and stuff like that. It's tough because what do you do about that? How you can't be more strict, can you? You know what I mean? Or would it be wise to be more strict without being a not a militaristic type of country, but a dictatorship or something? That's the only way it would work. But we all know we don't want no dictatorship. You know what I mean? People telling you what you should or shouldn't do and enforce it through ways. Like, what would the punishment be for kids that refuse to listen? You know what I mean? People will revolt and stuff like that, obviously, for obvious reasons at the same time, right? Shoot, I mean, what America revolted back in the old days because of the taxes, you know, everything was taxed. And we see now that everything's taxed again, you know, so but taxes, when they started implementing it again, it was supposed to be temporary, but, you know, as we continue to grow in debt and stuff like that, you got to keep it, right? You got to keep it some way, somehow. There's not much we can do about it. People can whine and complain about it, but, you know, taxes are due for everybody, anybody that works. You know, a lot of people, they do complain about, like, you know, people that don't work and stuff like that, but, you know, like, I don't know. That's a touchy subject too, you know, like, because sometimes there's a misconception of, you know, that some people just lay around and collect welfare because they don't want to work or something, which I guess could be true, but it's not always true, you know what I mean? There's single mothers out there that can't get any daycares or something like that because, you know, like, especially if they're in like highly populated areas, there might not be enough people that are in like the daycare business to watch their kids, you know? There's a lot of kids out there and stuff like that. There's a lot of different variables, you know? I don't know. I don't know because I haven't been through that, but I've had friends that grew up with single mothers, and, you know, mom's always working, and, you know, they're at home you know, by themselves, or they're just running the streets and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's tough, right? And like, those programs are set up for, you know, people that are struggling and need the extra help, and, you know, obviously it should go to those people, and, you know, I don't think they should be judged, because I think even nowadays you see, you hear about people being judged for like using food stamps at like a Walmart or something like that. And it's like, why are you judging them? You don't know their story and stuff like that, you know? Unless if you're walking a mile in their shoes, then you really can't say nothing. You don't know. You don't know if they're working hard and can barely afford rent or something, while at the same time trying to make decent human beings out of the kids they're raising, and, you know, cooking them meals and stuff like that, making sure they're fed. We don't know any of that, right? There's a older lady that used to work at the company I work at currently, and she was somewhat of a single mother, and she talked about like the old days where, you know, where she was working. She had to work three, 4 jobs at a time, you know what I mean, to just create some kind of stability within her family, you know. And like, she didn't, like, she understood about like welfare and stuff like that, and how it could help people and stuff like that, but she also was like, get multiple jobs, you know. There's different perspectives to everything, to some people that are doing that for their families, you know. And as education progresses, it helps counteract some of that stuff, because we come from a time where people were less educated, I guess you could say, you know, and people aren't going to take you if you don't have a freaking diploma, at least, you know. And touched a little bit on that with Rob when we had a podcast. So if you're interested in seeing that, it's my podcast. It should be on here on YouTube also. It'll be, I think it was episode 42, 43, one of those. Rob Tibbetts, though, anyways. So if you want to check that out. We talk a little bit about that, and, you know, we didn't really go too far into details on that kind of stuff, but we're aware of it, of, you know, some of the hardships it is to of growing up for, you know, Native peoples and all peoples and in general, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter about race, everybody struggles. And Native, white, Asian, all that, you know, African American, every race in the world, you know, everybody's going through stuff like that. And what's the only way out of that stuff is to help support each other. I think in a lot more recent years, it seems like people do band together because, along with education, it comes with that realization that not a specific race or specific people nowadays that are living have nothing to do with the past per se. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like growing up, people would blame like white people or something. Let's use that example, right? African Americans, Native Americans that I kind of grew up with, they would always be blaming a white man or something, especially when the school was predominantly towards that race, and they would, that was like some ideal or some belief, so they kind of didn't like, somebody of a lighter skin tone that they thought were white, and they would pick on them, bully them or something, and it was like, it's not their fault. They're not the ones that lived then, you know what I mean? And I don't know. It's some kind of weird mentality. It could be worse in some places than others, and I think it's actually been improved. Like even here in Bemidji, I heard stories of people, telling about at the Bemidji High School, even talking about how there was racial tension between white people and brown people, Native American people, Indian people, whatever you want to call Caucasians, Caucasian people and stuff. And even in a school, Catholic Bina, that's more known as a Native American school now, and it's in the reservation, and they had a lot of racism there back in the day. They even had a walkout of Native students. They walked out and they end up forming the Bug School, the Booger School. More so deeper into the woods towards Grand Rapids and stuff like that, or Deer River, my bad, and stuff like that. And it's pretty crazy to think about that. It was even 20 years before my time of going there. So even the 90s, they said that there was still some kind of tension in there. But there was always Native school students still going there, and I don't know. It's weird to think about, but it's also good to hear those stories. There was a teacher there, Mike Schmidt. They made him an honorary Native American, and he, cool plaque and stuff like that, because he was also one of the few people that walked out with the students. So he was a teacher there. Cass walked out and was helping teach curriculum and stuff like that at the Booger School, and he earned that plaque as an honorary Native American for Leech Lake and stuff like that. And a beautiful story, awesome. And he was still teaching when I was there, right? And he would take in some kids, kind of adopt them, you know what I mean, and raise them in his house. And they come from broken families and stuff like that, and to realize that somebody like that, awesome, and coming from a time that they would think all white people were racist, you know what I mean? And it's not true. It's not all people that are Caucasian are racist or were in those certain time periods. It was sure maybe there was more people that were, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all people of a certain race were that particular way, you know what I mean? And even throughout all history, there's always somebody helping that were considered to be hateful towards your racial group or something, and that's like I say, it all circles back to education. That the more you learn, the better it is, and if they keep you ignorant, they can keep you divided also. The more ignorant you are, the more you're not going to know, and the more you're going to be confused in this world. So it's good to pay attention. So a lot of people, whether they choose to continue to grow their education or not, they should at least try to get a high school diploma or something, at least get that far. If not, go to college too. It's not going to hurt you. It's gonna help you in life, right? And whatever, if you don't go, it's at least you got a diploma. At least you can work. At least you can earn some money, put food on the table, or you don't have to go back for it, because it would suck to have to go back to get your diploma or some kind of certificate, your GED or something like that, and get it done the first time. It's at least it's a minimal requirement, right? And there's people that don't have their diplomas, but they found work too. Maybe they were grandfathered in, or they're just genuinely good people. And I have a buddy that he didn't graduate high school, but he's one of the most awesome people, really smart dude, and he works hard, right? And it's sometimes it isn't always about the education, but I think it's a minimal requirement nowadays to do it, as opposed to before, where you could have been like grandfathered in per se, I guess, or something along those lines. Because I don't know. I haven't been through that myself, right? But I have, like I said, I've seen people that have been through that stuff, and there's other people that I know, a lot more people that haven't graduated high school, and they can't get a job. They can't, people won't hire them, or stuff like that because of that. Or maybe they failed. They went down the wrong path, and did some things that got them in trouble, that landed them in jail or prison. Things happen. But they try to straighten their life out, but they can't. They can't because some people won't give them a chance, or they have a hard time understanding the concept of like selling themselves when they go to like a job interview or something. And maybe they could be a hard worker, a very hard worker, can learn the job and do it well, maybe, even better than anybody there. But if you can't sell yourself during like the job interview process, or answer those questions correctly, I guess, per se, or with a certain confidence, or, then you might not get that job. And that's just reality, You could be educated and still not get the job. People see that too, they'll be like, you're overqualified or something, and that would suck, to go for an entry level job and they deny you because you're over educated or overqualified or something. It's like, that doesn't even make sense to me. It's like, hire that person. But maybe it was something else during that interview process that they seen that they did not particularly like. Maybe, who knows? You'd have to be that interviewer to actually know. And I had some friends that went to a job, and I would recommend them, but they wouldn't get hired. And for I'd be told later why they weren't hired, but for whatever reason, because they wouldn't try. They would think that they got the job just because they know you. You know what I mean? Just because you recommend them and stuff like that. That doesn't mean you get a job, right? You still have to go through that process, and give some effort, some type of effort. Because if you're just laid back and you're like nonchalant and don't really care during the interview process, it doesn't matter who recommends you. That person might not hire you, unless if they were like, their dad was like the freaking high up on the board or some crap. Maybe they'd let you in no matter what. But if it's just because you were recommended as a friend of somebody that just works there, it's not going to happen. It's not guaranteed, right? So you gotta, sit up straight. You gotta, give some kind of, you gotta be kind of proud. You know what I mean? It's tough. you got to smile, you got to answer clearly and precisely, you got to show that you understand the questions and stuff like that. There's, it's tough being a part of both sides of the process, of the hiring process, of being interviewed, from all my job interviews as an adult, right? And then going into the process of doing job interviews themselves, you get to see that, you get to, what you're looking for, as opposed to trying to sell yourself, trying to make that person see why they should hire you. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a lot different, right?